Hello, welcome to the table. My name is Jonathan Hicks.
I'm Steve Rain.
And I'm Mark Windsor.
And it's that time of year. We look around at other reviewers, and many of them seem to be doing their top 10 or top 30 or top 100 games of all time. And we've never done it before, have we?
No.
And we thought it might be an interesting exercise to try compiling our top so many games of all time. And I don't know about you guys, but I found it really interesting. How did you find the
watching
experience?
other people's ones. I find it, there's no specific reason, I just think I like lists. That's why we do lists though, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But it's the list of them all, it's your favourite list.
It reminds you of games you haven't played in a while, it reminds you of
Yeah.
games you haven't yet to play, and if that person likes other similar games to you, you might want to try that sort of thing out. So it kind of gives you pointers for things to have a look at that you haven't played in a while.
I quite enjoyed it because, as Steve said, it remembered to go, I haven't played that in a while, I really like that, I should play that again.
Yeah. Because I rate my games on Board Game Geek, but I've never put them in order in that sense. And I found it just really interesting looking at the final list. I was like, oh, I didn't really expect this necessarily to be in that order. And I found certain types of games seem to clump together as well. We'll get onto that when we go through the list. But yeah, very illuminating experience.
I had 30 Euro games come together. That's a joke.
Yeah, 80.
There we go. Yeah, so I think ratings decay as well. If you play a game for the first time and you really enjoy it, and so you rate it like an 8, and then you go back to it after a year or two, and you've played it again since then, and you think, yeah, well, it doesn't offer anything more. And so if you were to re-rate that sort of thing, that would change. So even if you went off your Board Game Geek ratings from top to bottom, you wouldn't necessarily get the same order that I've got from my 30.
Yeah, and I found that.
I do re-rate mine from time to time, just if I feel for some whatever reason, if it comes to me. But also, I've kind of noticed that I rate a lot of things on Board Game Geek relative to games of the same type, as opposed to standalone. So something that I might have rated very high might fall under something that technically is rated lower, but I prefer the genre better. And so the way I review's not technically as it says in the numbers.
Now we've gone for top 30 rather than top 100, for example, and partly for me at least that's because I find when watching top 100s, the top half, or the bottom half if you like, 50 through 100 certainly, seem to be much of a muchness. There doesn't seem to be much difference between 71 and 77, for example, in terms of where they're positioned, but also I found just in terms of compiling my own list that the top few games are fairly straightforward, like, oh yes, I love those games, they're definitely going to be in the top few spots. And the next few, I found it difficult to order them, if you like, but there were clear patterns emerging. But past 30, I'm like, yeah, I like all the rest of these games, but I'd find it very difficult to meaningfully rank one higher than another. So 30 games feels like the sweet spot. I feel like I can reliably rank 30 games. More than that, I'm not sure it means very much.
Mine sort of tailed off in the late 40s, early 50s when I used a big list, but same sort of thing. There's a point where I kind of look at it and go, sort of right, but I think a lot of it can be on any given day. I think this list is different.
I think outside the top 10 it's all conditional as well. The top 10 games you play whatever the situation, and then getting them 15 or 18 you might only play if you're not tired, or you might only play if you've got 4 people, you might only play if you're playing with people who can play quickly or something like that. And they're really great games, but you might not always want to play them over your top, your best.
Alright, so in this video we're going to start with my top 30 games. We're going to be going from 30 down to 21.
Number 30.
Right, my number 30 is actually technically a miniatures game, I think, which is very unusual for me. I don't play a lot of miniatures games, but it's one that I played with my son for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and despite it feeling like more of it's like it straddles the gap, I think, between an entry-level miniatures game maybe for kids and one that adults would enjoy as well, but I still really enjoy it.
It's the one that you build it up, is it?
Yeah, that's right. It's Heroescape.
There we go.
Oh, the build the massive.
That's right. I bought loads of stuff for it. I didn't get into it when it was released. I've been buying it sort of off eBay, sort of aftermarket, and I picked up a lot of stuff for it. And it's great. You do spend half of the time literally building the map, and that's one of the most enjoyable parts of it. It's like doing Lego.
You don't know it, does it all?
Sometimes.
It has a project for the day and the next day.
Oh no, build a map and then we can play. But I really enjoy it. It's very simple. You just chuck a few dice, move your miniatures around the map and fight each other. There's huge variety in the number of miniatures you're playing with, and just for that entry-level miniatures game, it's a lot of fun. Really easy to play, and I've really enjoyed all my play sessions. I'm guessing neither of you.
I've never played it.
I think there's a steep money barrier to be able to play that.
Yes, that's
I mean,
true.
you're never going to bring it to a game night because of how much stuff you've got. It's got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, on a side sort of note, I left off Warhammer 40k because it was too miniatures, but certainly through nostalgia, it might have sneaked on there. But yeah, I try to keep off of miniatures. I'm trying to go board game, but it is kind of somewhere in the middle.
Number 29.
My number 29 is my probably entry-level Euro of choice. I really like the fantasy theme that's on there, but essentially you're just cube pushing to a certain extent, and that's Kingsburg. So you have this great variety of buildings that you can potentially build. Effectively you're just acquiring resources, you've got your gold, your wood and your stone. You have this nice dice placement mechanic, and I love the fact that there are so many different buildings that you can potentially build. And with the expansion, which I think comes in the base game now, if you buy the latest edition of Kingsburg, it comes with the expansions built in, which you really want to play with. It means that each time you play, the different rows of buildings are potentially different, so there's huge amounts of variety there. And I love the fact that you can go kind of heavy on the fighting strategy. When the barbarians come at the end of each year and you've got to fight them off, you can get quite a lot of points for doing well on the military track. But then you can go for a gold strategy and try and get income that way. You can go down strategies to get extra dice. You can go down a pure victory point strategy. There's so much variety in what is essentially a fairly simple game. So I played this a lot with lots of people who are relatively new to games, and I, as a gamer, still really enjoy it.
I think it does pull in people who are heavy gamers as such. I think people will still, I remember playing Kingsburg, it's still got some strategy for me, so I will play it. I like the expansion. I really like the expansion where you're choosing how much to support. You basically get 6 support tiles, and throughout the game you have to play 5 of them. Whatever you don't play, you get VPs for at the end. That's quite a nice dilemma. You think, oh, I'm going to risk a 1, and hopefully it's going to be low. But then there's no randomness there, and sometimes you
replaces the dice.
Yeah, sometimes you can spend a lot of your turn building your military, and then someone rolls a 6 for the king.
Yep.
And then you're like, well, although you get the extra points for having the most military, you are hoping that everyone else would fail.
And then it's not worth it, putting all that effort in.
Yeah, the dice can make it random, but I still enjoy it pretty much based on that. It is one of the games I would only play with expansion personally.
If I had the choice,
yeah.
I'm happy to play the base game with newbies, but the expansion for myself.
Number 28.
My next game is kind of a party game, maybe. It came out in the last year, I think, and I've been surprised actually at how many games on my list have actually been released in the last year. But I just think there's been such a tremendous number of great games over the past 12 months. This one is a team versus team game, real time. You're all controlling different stations in the submarine. That's right. This is Captain Sonar, and you have these huge screens that sit between the two teams, and you really feel like you're part of a cohesive team trying to navigate around underwater, locate the other submarine and blow them up. And it's just great because it is really frantic, but it's not like there's no clock or anything that's timed again. You're just racing against the other team. I love that cooperative aspect of it. It's nice. Each time you play, you can pick a different role and cycle through the different roles. Some of them are definitely more difficult than others, aren't they? But I love the whole frantic nature of it. The more you play it, the less frantic it becomes, though. So if you're not so keen on that, you can just invest a bit of time and you start to feel more comfortable with the radio operator, whatever it is, trying to work out the tracks and work out where the enemy submarine is. It's just a great experience. There really is nothing else like it.
East, can't go east. I need to fire. They're not ready yet. We need to surface. We're going to hit that wall. Oh, it's just mad, and you do feel like a team. Everyone's important. If one person's not pulling their weight, you find that your submarine's just ineffective. You need to do everything in the right order, and you need to talk. You need to say we need to go north next, but I can't go north. We need to do that. And then you're one guy on your team who's listening for the other team. You're like, shut up, I can't hear them. It's really good.
Yeah, it's just chaotic fun, but it's a great party game. Obviously, you do really want the full 8 to play it because it makes it the best experience. But if you can get that 8, there's nothing really comparable on the market remotely. It's the real time works fine, much better than any real time in that sort of similar style of game. You do feel like you're actually in a submarine, or at least your station feels like. I mean, it has no real representation to it, but it captures that really well, and that's really important. I do feel like I'm a cog in a bigger wheel.
If it would play a fewer number of players, I think it would be higher on my list. But I don't know that it really could. You know, if it was
There is a 4-player version being released very soon.
I don't know if it would give you the same feel though. There's something about having a full set of 4 people on each team and trying to coordinate 4 people's different actions that's so satisfying.
Trying to get 8 people to play at the end of the night can be tricky.
Yeah,
you need to get 8 people who want to play it as well. If you've got one person who's only playing it because he makes up the 8, or they just drag it down a bit.
It's hard getting to play guitar at the end of the night as well, because you do need to be quite focused in on it.
It's well worth, if you haven't had a go, it is worth a go.
Number 27.
My next one is a simple dice game that I've played for years and years and years. The version I've got is called Perudo, but it's probably more well known as Liar's Dice, made famous in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, I think. And essentially, you roll some dice, but you hide them under your cup. Everyone's doing the same thing, and you're trying to guess how many of a particular number, like how many 5s are around the table. But what I love is the whole bluffing aspect of it, because you're bidding effectively. You can say, all right, I think there's 6 5s in total, and the next person go, oh no, I think there's more than that, there's 7 5s. And at some point someone's going to call the previous person's bluff, and you check to see, and it's very simple, but you can be very clever sometimes with the way you do it, particularly when it gets down to fewer numbers of players. It's a bit random if you're playing with 5 or 6 players, but people get knocked out, and once it gets down to 2 or 3 players, you can say, alright, I think there's 3 5s, having no 5s at all, and the next person thinks, oh, he must have at least a couple of 5s if he's calling 3, and so they call 4 5s, and if it ever gets around you, you can easily just call everyone's bluff, because you haven't got any 5s at all. So I love that aspect of it. It condenses the whole bluffing thing into a really streamlined package for me. That's why I like it so much.
It's my most played bar game, because somebody can just have a set of dice.
Yeah, you don't even need a board game. You just need a set of dice and a cup.
Yeah.
We used to play at university. Just someone had some dice and we played.
That's it. Yeah, it's really fun. It's knowing other people helps, I guess, but then breaking what they know of you is equally as fun.
Yeah, and it's one of those that builds up a meta. I think if you play it long enough over an evening, let's say, then after a while you're like, he's done that bluff where he never has any of them a few times now. I bet he hasn't got any 5s at all. And then someone calls you on it, you're like, oh no, I don't have any. So yeah, I think my experiences of playing the game, as much as anything, is what's keeping it.
It's a social.
On my list.
It's very social.
Yeah.
Number 26.
My next one is, well, it probably was my heavy Euro of choice for many years. I don't know that it's really considered that heavy anymore, and it's probably been replaced by other things, because partly there was a sequel that really came out for it, and that's Agricola. Most people are familiar with this. You're a farmer trying to grow crops and herd animals together, and I think a lot of the attraction for me was, particularly when it first came out, because I played it more or less from the time it was released for years afterwards, is the theming of it. And I know that sounds a bit crazy, it's not like a very exciting theme, but I really get into the whole, okay, if I build my fences here, I can fit these animals in, I can also grow my crops, and I need to expand my house, and I just really got into it, and I found a lot of people I played with who weren't necessarily gamers, I really got into that theme as well. I had more success with that in terms of trying to find a Euro game that I could play with friends who weren't necessarily gamers. I had more success with Agricola than anything else. And still now, particularly with all the card play, it adds so much variety potentially to the game that you could play it again and again and again and again and still enjoy it. I don't play it very much these days, but if you suggest to me now, do you fancy playing Agricola, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I really enjoy it. So that's why it's still on my list.
Such a well-crafted game that all these cards just fit together so well. You can pick like any cross-section of cards and you get a completely different game.
It succeeds really well in that feeling that even if you fail at the end of the game, you go, I built this farm, I've added to my house, the construction is always, you always feel like you're increasing, and you can just go, hey,
and even if you succeed, you feel like you could do better because it's quite punishing.
You always feel like you're on the edge. It's like, oh, if I just had one more action, that would all work out, and you never quite have enough. But it's very satisfying at the end.
Number 25.
My number 25 is a 2-player war game, really, and there's very few of those that I would even play, never mind put on my top 30. But the theme of this just draws me in so much. I feel like by the time I finish playing it, that I've really experienced the 80s Cold War, if you like, and that's Twilight Struggle, which was #1 on Board Game Geek for many years, and there's a very good reason for that. You do, I think, need to like the theme. It doesn't look particularly thematic, like the board isn't very exciting, the artwork, you're playing a lot with these cardboard chits that you're using to indicate influence in different countries, but you're not fighting with armies. I love the fact that you're trying to politically, if you like, influence different places. And the way the scoring cards come out, because you never quite know when a scoring card is going to come out, people have them in their hands, and it means that if someone's putting a lot of influence in Costa Rica, let's say, you're like, oh, maybe they've got the Central America scoring card, and so you start putting influence in Central America as well. And that whole bluffing aspect, they're doing something, it must be important, but actually maybe it's not, works so well.
They might think you might have it in your hand, so they're pre-putting it in, and neither of you got it, and you're spending all your efforts doing that. Yeah,
which feels just like the Cold War. You know, someone would build up to them and be like, oh, they're doing something, we have to get in there as well.
Attacking is very valuable, but you can't do it very often. If you do it too much, you lose. So
because you're not defending other players, and also so the DEFCON track. Yeah, it's one of those. I played this first on the iPad, and then I played it again, and then played it again. So it's one of those I didn't expect to like as much as I did. So definitely deserves its place.
It's quite long. I think that would be only my only criticism of it really is, and I would play it a lot more if it wasn't so long. It does depend who you're playing with, and it certainly helps if both players are familiar with the cards. If you're not familiar with the cards and the other player is, you're just going to get beaten very easily. And it obviously plays faster when you're like, oh yeah, I recognise this card, I know what it does. You don't have to read all the text. But I like the fact that they've got these kind of period photos on there and a little bit of flavour text. The whole package works really well.
Number 24.
Right, having just said I don't particularly play very many two-player war games, my next one is also a two-player war game. Except this one is set in the Lord of the Rings universe, and this is the eponymous War of the Ring, which is just a superb kind of game in terms of encompassing the whole of the Lord of the Rings saga. One player is the goodies and one player is the baddies, and I love the fact that you're trying to wage war and fight with armies potentially, but you're also trying to get the ring through to Mordor, and there's that whole give and take of if you have different dice, and if you spend more actions developing your armies, then you're necessarily spending fewer actions either progressing the ring or trying to expose and stop the ring. And with the multiple different win conditions, obviously if you get the ring to Mordor and Mount Doom, then the good player is going to win. But if the bad guy conquers a certain number of territories, they're going to win that way. And so it's like you feel like you need to do both, and you're trying to work out, am I better doing more of the fighting or more of moving the ring along? And there's a tension throughout all of it. It has the nice multi-use cards. You can use cards for different things. And to be honest though, I think the theme as much as anything else really draws me in. I love Lord of the Rings, read the book several times, and I really feel like I'm in that universe the whole time I'm playing, so I'm just a huge fan of it.
I knew you had huge fan, I thought it would be higher.
It is a long two-player war game.
It's long again. I think that's the only thing that's keeping it down.
But I love the push-pull nature. Applying pressure somewhere means you can't apply it somewhere else. And much like Twilight Struggle, it's a game of bluffing almost. I look like I'm going for this. I'm really doing something completely different.
And limited resources. You can only do.
The dice are amazing in a way because they limit you so much, and you're like, oh, I really didn't want that roll this round.
The two sides feel so asymmetrical, and yet it's often so close. Like the last game I played was with Mark, and I thought I was doing really, really well. I thought I'm going to get the ring to Mordor. I know I can do this, and I just missed one little thing on the way, and he sort of swooped in with his army and conquered a couple of strongholds.
Yeah, went like towards the northeast, which is completely. You don't normally look at that area of the map. It isn't really the central bit of the map. You're looking around like the central, like the main areas. But you kind of, I just went, I'm just going to go up there and just take those in quick succession. It's like.
I started counting up, like, oh no, he's got enough points to win.
But you also, there's a point where I had an army, I thought, if you attack that army right now, it will completely block my plan, because you would have scored me for that one round, but you didn't, and I was like,
I was too focused on getting the ring through to Mordor, that's what it was.
It's like the Eye of Sauron, but you were the opposite side.
Number 23.
My next game is a sequel, really, and it's a sequel to a game that I've already mentioned on this list, which is going to be Caverna, that's right. It seems odd in one sense to have both Caverna and Agricola, because I still own both of them, but although Caverna has a lot of similarities, it feels different enough to Agricola for me to want and still really enjoy playing both games. I love Caverna even more than Agricola. It gives me all the same feelings that Agricola does, but it removes some of the things that I'm not so keen on, like the severity of having to feed your people all the time. You still have to feed them in Caverna, but it's just easier. But it also adds things that I really like. So I really like the huge choice of buildings or sort of rooms that you have that you convert
that
caverns.
everyone's got access to.
That's
You
right.
don't just happen to have that card like you do in Agricola. Everyone's got access to all these buildings.
And it's such a big set that I still don't feel like I've got my head around all of them. Each time I just look at them and go, oh, these are all fun. I'm going to try this game, and I'll try and work a strategy around a particular building. So I find that very satisfying. The other thing I really like is the, what do they call them, expeditions or
Quests almost, isn't it?
Yeah, so
dwarf where they go off
you
and
tool up your dwarves outside
yeah.
with weapons, and they go off fighting effectively, and they bring back loot. And I really like that. And I like the fact that whenever I introduce this to people who haven't played it before, I always warn them and say, if only one person goes for the weaponized dwarves route, they're going to win the game. It's very powerful. But if all but one person goes for the weaponized dwarves win, the person who didn't go is going to win, because effectively you're fighting over these resource spaces. And if everyone's fighting over the weaponized spaces, the expedition spaces, then they're not going to do very well. So I really like that tension between this is good, but I don't want to get it if everyone's going for it. It just works so well.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that road because he's already got it, but someone needs to.
Yes, that's right.
I think Caverna is about doing well, whereas Agricola is about not doing badly.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that.
Agricola, you have to spend yourself more thin because you have to succeed on more points. While Caverna, you can be more deliberate and strategize down one or two routes.
It feels more free.
Yeah, well, you can stockpile a lot of stuff whilst still feeding your people.
Yeah,
Yes.
So you can get wood and stone. You can have a few turns where you get wood and stone, and then you pay for your people with your ruby that you've got or something.
So I like the variation.
And then you can just get something really good.
I like the variation in Agricola with the cards. It adds more.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of tiles, but essentially it's quite easy to go, oh, this worked before, and do it again while you just that option less in Agricola.
Agricola feels more like a gamer's game to me, to be honest. But I still prefer Caverna. Just
I do as
the
well.
whole package of the variability, and the actual components are great. The rubies, and you've got the ore that you mine, as well as all the different animal tokens, and it looks great on the table. Very colourful. I love the artwork. Yeah, it's just a superb package, I think.
Number 22.
My next game is a cooperative, programmable movement game with a campaign.
Yeah,
Minions.
It's superb. Very hard to get hold of, I'm afraid, because you can only buy it from the League of Legends people. I can't remember what the company's called, but their website. But I'd highly recommend you get it if you like programmable movement and like co-op games. It's just superb. It's so engaging. You put all your cards down to kind of program what your robot's going to do. You start getting hit by all these minions that are swarming all over the place, and everything goes to pot. All your carefully laid plans start going wrong. You crash into people, you're shooting in the wrong direction, but it's just so much fun. The components are off the chart. They are the best components I've ever seen in any game. And you just get so much for it. It's not a cheap game by any means, but it's still tremendous value. You get so much value for your money in terms of what they've managed to cram into the box. There's a couple of nice kind of hidden surprises, if you like, in terms of as you follow through the campaign. A couple of things pop up, sort of. So it's not quite a legacy game really, but there's a little bit of that element of you're discovering things as you go through it. I like the fact that the tiles are double-sided, so you kind of start in one sort of terrain and you move into a different terrain. It adds more and more features as you go through. It's just a great package. Had a lot of fun playing through that campaign.
It's brilliant. It's not my sort of game generally, but I was thoroughly engaged throughout.
Yeah, I played the game.
It was good.
I agree entirely. It's not the quality of the components, the whole quality of the game. The whole thing felt surrounded, considering they hadn't released the game. But
that was the amazing thing, wasn't it? It was their first game, and it was so good.
I mean, they have made League of Legends, so they know how to make. I know it's a different industry, but it was a long time in coming. Apparently, they had lots of talk to the people.
Yeah,
I know that the component thing, but I think they were making insignificant markup on the cost. That's I like on it. They're not being made. It was a labour of love, as they say.
It certainly feels like that.
They weren't making 50% of that money. They wouldn't make anything like that on it.
Number 21.
My next one then is a game that I've played again and again and again with lots of different groups of people who've never played games before through to hardcore gamers, and it's one of those games you would expect to tire of after a while, but honestly I never have. If you suggest that I play it again tonight, I'd be quite happy to play it, and that's Seven Wonders. I've played with the expansions. There's like 3 or 4 some major expansions you can potentially play with, and I am happy to play with any expansions. I'm also quite happy to play the base game. Even though I've played it that much, it's short enough, and I find each game is interesting enough that I'm still very happy to play it over and over. I love the card drafting. The different colours of cards combined with the theme makes it very engaging for me. It looks great on the table. I think, oh yeah, I want to collect the blue cards this time. But I feel like I'm involved in the civilization. You know, the theme is a little bit pasted on, but there's enough of it there for me to get into it, I guess. And in terms of playing with people who haven't played before, it's one of the best sort of gateway games I've played, I think. You obviously need people who are reasonably with it. It's not an easy game to play the first time you play, but every time I've introduced this to people, we play it once and they're like, let's play it again. That was great. I didn't know what I was doing, but now I feel like I've got a chance and I want to do it again. So it's great. Love it.
Yeah, it's a really good game. I think everything you said was spot on. But that's a sign of a great game when people say, I want to play it again.
Yeah.
It's just had so much longevity and like replay through, more so than any game I can think of. People always suggest that we could just play Seven Wonders.
Yeah. You've just finished You just finished a long game, and there's 6 or 7 of you floating around. You're like, something for 6, and there's not many good games for 6.
Yeah.
Apart from 7 Wonders.
Yeah.
Maybe it's our group, we just keep playing it and we keep passing on the torch to more people who then go, let's play Seven Wonders.
It always surprises me how often people who have played it a lot still suggest it. So say at the end of the night, should we play Seven Wonders? And everyone's like, yeah, okay, that would be good. It's great. Alright, there we go. That was my 30 down to 21. So next time I'll be doing my 20 down to 11. Do let me know in the comments what you think of my choices, if you think I picked good games or if you think I didn't pick quite such good games. I'll see you next week.